Okay, hi everyone. So let's begin with our breathing meditation for a few minutes.
12. More minute.
We can begin the prayers.
O blessed one, Shakyamuni Buddha, precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme abuse. You love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to a liberating path. Your body is a wish fulfilling joy. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar, and your mind is refuge for all living beings. With folded hands I turn to you, supreme unchanging friend. I request some advance of my heart. Please give me the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of my mind and to heal my mental continuum. Please nourish me with your goodness, that I in turn may nourish your peace. and my strong wish to rely upon you. May all suffering quickly cease, and all happiness and joy be fulfilled. And may Bodhidharma flourish forevermore. May the Bhagwan become completely pure, as level as the palm of a hand, and as smooth as lapis lazuli. May all the spirits be filled with offerings from gods and men, both set out and imagined, like offerings of thee, O good one. In the space in front of a lion throne, on a cushion of lotus on a moon, sits Buddha Shakyamuni, the essence of all my kind teachers, surrounded by the assembly of direct and indirect gurus, Yidams, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, heroes, solitary conquerors, heroes, dakinis, and Dharma protectors. I and all my kind mothers, fearing samsara's torments, turn to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the only sources of refuge. From now until enlightenment, to the three jewels we go for refuge. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. From the hearts of all refuge objects, lights and letters stream down and dissolve into myself and all living beings, purifying negative karma and obstructions, increasing our lives of virtues and Dharma realization. May everyone be happy. May everyone be free from misery. May no one ever be separated from their happiness. May everyone have equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. You, protector of all beings, great destroyer of hosts of demons, please, O blessed one, Lord of all, come to this place with your retinue. With my body, speech, and mind, humbly I prostrate, and make offerings both set out and imagined. I confess my wrong deeds from all time, and rejoice in the virtues of all. Please stay until samsara ceases, and turn the wheel of Dharma for us. I dedicate all virtues to great enlightenment. The ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers, the great mountain for land, sun, and moon, seen as a Buddha land and of the past. May all beings enjoy such pure lands. I offer without any sense of loss the objects that give rise to my attachment, hatred, and confusion, my friends, enemies, and strangers, our bodies and enjoyments. Please accept these and bless me to be released directly from the three poisons. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami. So now, my most kind root Guru, please sit on the lotus and moon on my crown, and grant me out of your great kindness, your body, speech, and mind's attainments. I make request to you, Buddha Shakyamuni, whose body comes from countless virtues, whose speech fulfills the hopes of mortals, whose mind sees clearly all existence. I make request to you, Gurus of the lineage of extensive deeds, Venerable Maitreya, noble Sangha Vasubandhu, and all the other precious teachers who have revealed the path of vastness. I make request to you, Gurus of the lineage of profound view, Venerable Manjushri Nagarjuna Chandrakirti, and all the other precious teachers who have revealed the most profound path. I make request to you, Gurus of the lineage of secret mantra, Conqueror Vajradhara, Tilopa, and Naropa, and all the other precious teachers who have revealed the path of Tantra. I make request to you, Gurus of the old Kadam lineage, the second Buddha, Tisha, Drom, Tompa, Geshe, Kotawa, and all the other precious teachers who have revealed the union of vast and profound paths. I make request to you, Gurus of the new Kadam lineage, Venerable Tsongkhapa, Jampa, Gyatso, Khedrute, and all the other precious teachers who have revealed the union of Sutra and Tantra. I make request to you, Venerable Khalsa Gyatso, protector of the vast ocean of living beings, unequal teacher of the paths to liberation and enlightenment, who accomplish and explain everything that was revealed by the fourth deliverer of this fortunate eon. I make request to you, my kind precious teacher, who care for those with uncontrolled minds, untamed by all the previous Buddhas, as if they were fortunate disciples. Please pour down your inspiring blessings upon myself and all my mothers, so that we may quickly stop all perverse minds, from disrespect for our kind teacher, to the most subtle jewel appearance. Please pour down your inspiring blessings, so that we may quickly generate pure minds, from respect for our kind teacher, to the supreme mind of union. Please pour down your inspiring blessings, to pacify all outer and inner obstructions. Please pour down your inspiring blessings upon myself and all my mothers, so that we may quickly stop all perverse minds, from disrespect for our kind teacher, to the most subtle jewel appearance. Please pour down your inspiring blessings, so that we may quickly generate pure minds, from respect for our kind teacher, to the supreme mind of union. Please pour down your inspiring blessings, to pacify all outer and inner obstruction. Please pour down your inspiring blessings upon myself and all my mothers, so that we may quickly stop all perverse minds, from disrespect for our kind teacher, to the most subtle jewel appearance. Please pour down your inspiring blessings, so that we may quickly generate pure minds, from respect for our kind teacher, to the supreme mind of union. Please pour down your inspiring blessings, to pacify all outer and inner obstruction. From the hearts of all the holy beings, streams of light and nectar flow down, granting blessings and purifying. The path begins with strong reliance on my kind teacher, source of all good. Oh, bless me with this understanding to follow him with great devotion. This human life with all its freedoms extremely rare, with so much meaning. Oh, bless me with this understanding all day and night, to seize its essence. My body like a water bubble decays and dries so very quickly. After death come results of karma, just like the shadow of a body. With this knowledge and remembrance, bless me to be extremely cautious, always avoiding harmful actions and gathering abundant virtue. Samsara's pleasures are deceptive, give no contentment, only torment. So please bless me to strive sincerely to gain the bliss of perfect freedom. Oh, bless me so that from this pure thought come mindfulness and greatest caution, to keep as my essential practice the doctrine's root, the patimotion. Just like myself, all my kind mothers are drowning in samsara's ocean. Oh, so that I may soon release them, bless me to train in bodhicitta. But I cannot become a Buddha by this and without three ethics. So bless me with the strength to practice the Bodhisattva's ordination, by pacifying my distractions and analyzing perfect meanings. Bless me to quickly gain the union of special insight and quiescence. When I become a pure container through common paths, bless me to enter the essence practice of good fortune is supreme vehicle Vajrayana. The two attainments both depend on my sacred vows and my commitments. Bless me to understand this clearly and keep them at the cost of my life. By constant practice in 4 sessions, the way explained by holy teachers. Oh, bless me to gain both the stages which are the essence of the Tantras. May those who guide me on the good path and my companions all have long lives. Bless me to pacify completely all obstacles, outer and inner. May I always find perfect teachers and take delight in holy Dharma. Accomplish all grounds and paths swiftly, and gain a state of Vajradhara.
And please take time to receive the blessings of Guru, Buddha Shakyamuni, and all the holy beings. So this afternoon we'll do all 4 of the meditations on the 12 dependent related links. The first 2 on the side of delusion, and then the last 2 on the perfectly purified side, all in serial and in reverse order. So let's begin by bringing to mind the image of the Wheel of Life. Held within the jaws of the Lord of Death. So we can briefly recall the imagery of the 12 links on the outer perimeter. Ignorance is represented by an old blind woman. Compositional actions is represented by a potter making pots, some good and some bad. Consciousness is represented by a monkey, scampering restlessly up and down a tree, indicating how our consciousness moves restlessly up and down the tree of samsara. Name and form is represented by a man rowing a boat, indicating that just as we need a boat to travel across the ocean, so we need the boat-like aggregates to take rebirth in ocean-like samsara. Six sources is represented by an empty house with 5 windows, indicating that just as a house stands empty before its owners move in, so when the embryo has just developed, the 6 sources are like rooms in an empty house, waiting to be occupied by the 6 consciousnesses. Contact is represented by a man and a woman embracing. Feeling is represented by a man shot in the eye with an arrow. Craving is represented by a man drinking beer. Grasping is represented by a monkey grabbing fruit. Existence is represented by a pregnant woman about to give birth. Birth is represented by a baby being born. And aging and death is represented by a man carrying a corpse on his back. So we can begin with the meditation on the 12 links on the side of delusion in serial order. So we contemplate that dependent-related ignorance is the cause of dependent-related compositional actions, which is the cause of consciousness. Consciousness is the cause of name and form. Name and form is the cause of 6 sources. 6 sources is the cause of contact. Contact is the cause of feeling. Feeling is the cause of craving. Craving is the cause of grasping. Grasping is the cause of existence. Existence is the cause of birth. And birth is the cause of aging and death. This meditation shows how over and over again our suffering arises from ignorance. Please contemplate for a minute. Now we can contemplate the 12 links on the side of delusion from the reverse order. So we think aging and death, dependent related aging and death, comes from dependent related birth. Dependent related birth arises from dependent related existence. Dependent related existence arises from dependent related grasping. Dependent related grasping arises from dependent related craving. Dependent related craving arises from dependent related feeling. Dependent related feeling arises from dependent related contact. Dependent related contact arises from dependent related 6 sources. Dependent related 6 sources arises from dependent related name and form. Dependent related name and form arises from dependent related consciousness. Dependent related consciousness arises from dependent related compositional actions. And dependent related compositional actions arises from dependent related ignorance. We develop the strong determination to eliminate our ignorance, since it is the cause of all our suffering in samsara. And we develop the determination to realize emptiness. So now we can contemplate the 12 links from the perfectly purified side in serial order. So we contemplate how the cessation of dependent related ignorance brings about the cessation of dependent related compositional actions. When dependent related compositional actions cease, dependent related consciousness ceases. When consciousness ceases, name and form ceases. When name and form ceases, 6 sources come to an end. From 6 sources, contact ceases. Then feeling ceases. Craving ceases. Grasping ceases. Existence ceases. Birth ceases. And finally, aging and death comes to an end. We can feel uplifted knowing that by cutting ignorance, we can overcome the cycle of samsara and all its associated sufferings. Now finally we can contemplate in reverse order. We contemplate how the cessation of dependent related aging and death leads to the cessation of dependent related birth. Which leads to the cessation of dependent related existence. Which leads to the cessation of dependent related grasping. Leading to the cessation of dependent related craving. Leading to the cessation of dependent related feeling. Leading to the cessation of dependent related contact, which leads to the cessation of dependent related 6 sources, which leads to the cessation of dependent related name and form, which leads to the cessation of dependent-related consciousness, which leads to the cessation of dependent-related compositional actions, and finally leading to the complete cessation of dependent-related ignorance. Again, this meditation leads us to understand how we can cease samsara and its sufferings forever. For the last minute of meditation, we can contemplate the verse written by Buddha at the bottom of the diagram of the Wheel of Life. Make effort to destroy the cycle of suffering. Enter the path to liberation. Abandon all delusions and learn to cherish others. Please meditate on the meaning of this verse for the last minute. Please begin to relax your concentration and end your meditation here. The condensed meaning of the text, page 694. How to practice the path that leads to liberation has two parts. The bodily basis we need to attain liberation. The paths we need to follow to attain liberation. The paths we need to follow to attain liberation has three parts. The three higher trainings, why we need to practice the three higher trainings to attain liberation, how to practice the three higher trainings. The three higher trainings has three parts. Training in higher moral discipline, training in higher concentration, training in higher wisdom. How to practice the three higher trainings has three parts. How to practice higher moral discipline, how to practice higher concentration, and how to practice higher wisdom. Okay, afternoon everyone. So we're going to now start this chapter called The Path to Liberation, and this begins on page 440. So how to practice the path that leads to liberation. This is explained in two parts. One, the bodily basis we need to attain liberation. And two, the paths we need to follow to attain liberation. The bodily basis we need to attain liberation. It has been explained that the human form provides the best bodily basis for attaining liberation. So we can rejoice. We've got this human body. So out of all living beings, because we have a human body, we've got the best. We can't always say we've got the best with respect to a lot of things in life, but we've got the best bodily basis for leaving suffering behind forever. Beings who are born in the lower realms have no opportunity to practice Dharma, and so it is impossible for them to attain liberation. So there's no possibility for any living being in the lower realm, in any of the lower realms, in that lifetime, to stop their suffering, to stop it forever. There is no possibility for as long as they are in the lower realms. For that lifetime, there's no way that they can stop any of their suffering forever. It is difficult for gods to attain spiritual realizations because some of them have many strong distractions and some of them lack the necessary conditions for gaining realizations. So although the gods in the desire realm have less suffering than human beings have. They have these celestial bodies. They don't suffer from the kinds of physical and mental pain that a human being necessarily has to suffer from for as long as they're in samsara. But they're not fortunate in the sense of having this possibility of attaining liberation in that life because of these reasons. Strong distractions, or lacking the conditions, the necessary conditions for gaining realizations. Our suffering is a condition, for gaining realizations, because we know how to transform that suffering into the spiritual path, into a way out of suffering. But the gods are experiencing so much pleasure that they don't have the suffering element to push them, to push them to seek a way out of suffering. By contrast, with the human body, it is comparatively easy to develop the realizations of renunciation, bodhicitta, emptiness, and so forth. This helped me, this paragraph, to see what is the real meaning of possessing a human body. The human body for us may be associated in our mind with a variety of different pleasures. Having a human body means we can experience different kinds of pleasure. It also gives rise to quite a bit of pain. But the real meaning of having a human body, we finally attained a human body, is to use it to liberate ourselves. So Geshe-la continues, nevertheless, just to have a human body is not sufficient to attain liberation, because we also need to exert effort. As Geshe Potawa said, we have taken many samsaric rebirths, so we need to think millions upon billions upon trillions, many samsaric rebirths, but we have never attained liberation naturally without exerting effort. This has never happened to us or to anyone else in the past, and it will never happen in the future, because it is impossible to attain liberation without making an effort. So I feel like this is being emphasized because in our mind, there must be the thought that maybe liberation can come naturally. That one day we'll wake up, and because we've practiced Dharma all our life, we'll just suddenly, naturally attain a state of liberation. But clearly, the point that's being made here is that it can never happen unless we apply some effort, we exert some effort. So one story that I like that helps to illustrate the need for effort is meaningful to behold, and it says here, there was once a Tibetan yogi named Drugpa Kunleg who went to the great central temple in Lhasa to see its famous statue of Buddha Shakyamuni. In the presence of this statue, he said, "You and I were once exactly the same. We both experienced unbearable sufferings and were reborn in hell many times. Through the power of your effort, you attained enlightenment. But under the spell of laziness, I continue to wander in samsara. Now it is time for me to prostrate to you. So what is effort? There'll be a section on the perfection of effort coming up, when we resume with the Great Scope in the fall. But I want to say a little bit about effort right now. So effort is a mind that is delighting in virtue. So it's a state of mind that feels delighted to meditate, delighted to think about Dharma, delighted to pray for the happiness of others. So when the thought, oh, there's a puja, there's a delight in the mind. Yeah, that's effort. So it's so different, isn't it, from what we normally associate with that word. Because effort in our everyday language brings about a sense of having to strive and to push. Yeah. So even though Geshe-la here uses the word, we need to exert effort, I don't believe he's saying that we need to push and we need to stress ourselves out. I don't think people get stressed trying to attain liberation. What he's saying is that we need to try. And the trying needs to be conjoined with a joyful mind, which is what effort is. Geshe-la talks about our effort needing to be, or a visual, an analogy, and I know we've heard this before, it's great to bring it to mind again, like a broad flowing river. A broad flowing river. So I take my daily walk and I pass along the Ottawa River. And depending on the weather, that broad river is moving differently. When it's really, I think there was a point in time when there was a lot of wind. If it's really windy, there's quite a bit of wave and movement. But today, on a muggy day, the river is very slow moving. It's almost imperceptible. I have to go right up to the edge and say, oh yeah, it's moving. That river's moving. So I think effort is a mind that's going to keep our practice moving along. Some days it'll have a lot of energy. Maybe other days it's going to be moving a little bit slower. But I think the point is that we need to have some kind of consistent movement in our mind, in this case toward liberation. There needs to be some delight to make some effort to attain liberation. So how does, again, if we recall, how does effort actually arise? It arises in dependence upon a wish, which then arises in dependence upon some faith. So faith often comes when we think about the benefits. So if we think about the benefits, it's kind of a no-brainer. think about the benefits of attaining liberation. The benefit is I will never, ever, 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 ever have to suffer again. Suffering is completely finished once we attain liberation. The problem, because we like this, who doesn't like this idea? But the problem is that that is still quite theoretical in our mind. In theory, we love this idea. But practically, what effort is going into making this a reality? I guess that's the question for all of us. And so I was thinking about my own experience, my own practice. We know that we need to be practicing off the cushion. I don't think liberation, which is dependent upon the wish to liberate ourselves, which is renunciation, is going to come from meditating on the cushion alone. We know that we've got to bring our life into this. We've got to bring our life into this liberation from samsara. I think it's actually not very hard. Whenever we experience any kind of suffering, physical suffering, mental pain, disappointment, depression, anxiety, if we bring that suffering and sort of put it into the wheel of life, understanding that that suffering is a symptom of being bound to this cycle of samsara. If we were not bound to this cycle of suffering, there would be no suffering experiences. So every time there's suffering in our life, we can think, this is a symptom. The only reason I experience this is because I'm trapped in this wheel of life. And if we just give that some thought, even for a few minutes, we arrive at the conclusion that if I want my suffering to stop, I have to break this cycle. I can work till the day I die trying to manage my suffering and trying to band-aid my suffering. And we should use all Buddhist principles that we have and that we're familiar with to create a mind of peace, absolutely. But equal amount of energy needs to be going into thinking about making your escape forever. And there's no better way of making that link than when we suffer. We just have to remember. We just have to recall. Then the wish to attain liberation, which is renunciation, will start to arise from our heart, like from a really more genuine place. It doesn't feel like words. It feels like, yeah, I really want to go. I really want to put an end to this forever. I know there's this suffering right now. Okay, I'm going to have to deal with it. But my real job, my biggest job, is to make sure this suffering never has to happen again. And then we naturally put effort into these 3 higher trainings, which we're going to learn about, which are the ways to actually abandon samsara. Then it doesn't feel like a slog and a grind. It feels like, I want to leave. Please, someone show me how. Please tell me the ways I can do this. It's like a natural outcome. Once the wish begins to solidify gradually over time in our mind, because this is a big realization. You know? Renunciation is a big realization, the wish to want to liberate ourselves. But without that wish, at least coming slowly a little bit in our mind, we're not really that interested in how to attain escape, how to make our escape. You know, it's almost as though it's abstract. What does it have to do with me? But it starts having to do a lot with ourselves when from our heart, we're actually making an effort to increase this wish, which is our renunciation. And hopefully through the study of the links and the Four Noble Truths, which came before that, this feeling is beginning to manifest a little more. Okay, so Geshe-la continues in this paragraph. He says, so we can't attain liberation without making an effort. Therefore, the time for engaging in spiritual practice and engaging in the methods for destroying samsara is right now, while we have this human body. Once we have lost the opportunity this life affords, we will have lost our chance to gain pure peace. So in our meditation, this sentence, once we have lost the opportunity this life affords, we will have lost our chance to gain pure peace. So this is helping us to see that our opportunity won't last forever. So it's lighting a little bit of a fire, you know, within our mind to kind of get going. We need that encouragement. And you know, in Our Precious Human Life, Lam Rim meditation, Geshe-la says to not take advantage of this precious opportunity now that we have a precious human life. He says to not take advantage of it now. He says there would be no greater loss. No greater loss and no greater foolishness. So I was thinking about how he says there would be no greater loss. So there are many things in our life that we have lost. And there are things that we would consider a great loss. The loss of a loved one. The loss of our health. Maybe the loss of a limb. The loss of our money, the loss of our reputation, the loss of the trust of a good friend. Many things that we would consider deep losses, maybe an irretrievable loss. But Buddha is saying the greatest loss, greater than any loss we could even imagine, is to not take the opportunity to attain liberation while we have the bodily basis, while we have a precious human life. So that's something for us. We can all consider that. Okay, the paths we need to follow to attain liberation. This has three parts. The three higher trainings. Why we need to practice the three higher trainings to attain liberation. And how to practice the three higher trainings. The three higher trainings. The three higher trainings are the means by which we escape from samsara and attain liberation. Training in higher moral discipline, training in higher concentration, and training in higher wisdom. So right now, we all train in moral discipline, we all train in concentration, and we all train in wisdom. But in order to escape samsara, we need to train in higher moral discipline, higher concentration, and higher wisdom. And these three trainings are considered higher when they are motivated by, at the very least, a mind of renunciation, a mind that wishes to attain liberation. So we're practicing our moral discipline with the intention to want to leave samsara. We're concentrating in meditation with the intention to leave. We're developing our wisdom, realizing emptiness with the intention to leave samsara sufferings behind. Yeah, so that's makes it higher, and it gives these practices a very special power and creates more merit than if the special motivation of renunciation was absent. So training in higher moral discipline. With the motivation of renunciation, when we practice any moral discipline, from the moral discipline of abandoning killing to the moral discipline of keeping all three sets of vows, the Pratamoksha, Bodhisattva, and Tantric vows, we are practicing higher moral discipline. So we know what moral discipline is. We've studied all about karma and moral discipline, but we can remember that it's this virtuous determination, a virtuous determination to abandon all our non-virtuous actions. Yeah? So when we're practicing moral discipline, that's what we're doing. You know, we want to abandon killing, stealing, lying, etc. Because these non-virtuous actions lead to suffering for ourselves, but harm others greatly as well. And these three sets of vows, the Pratamoksha vow, Bodhisattva vow, and Tantric vow, they're all vows that are also part of moral discipline, because often we're refraining from non-virtuous actions, but very particular non-virtuous actions, particular faults. That's what a vow is. We can take a vow formally, like we can take these Pratamoksha vows, Bodhisattva vows, Tantric vows, or we can just make a vow, you know, in our mind thinking, okay, I'm going to stop having bad thoughts about that person. You know, that's a practice of moral discipline as well. We're refraining from non-virtue. If then we were to think, I am going to stop thinking bad thoughts about this person, you know, because it creates suffering, and I need to stop suffering forever for me and for others. Our moral discipline of refraining from those bad thoughts would become a higher moral discipline. So it's not very hard to conjoin our practice already that we have of moral discipline, of refraining from non-virtue, with this wish to want to liberate ourselves from suffering. Without the motivation of renunciation, any practice of moral discipline is a cause of higher rebirth in samsara, but it is not a cause of liberation. Yeah, so we want, it's kind of saying what I just said, we want more and more and more of our virtuous actions, our practice of moral discipline, to become a cause of leaving samsara, not staying. Even when, as we know, when we perform virtuous, positive things, because they're tainted by ignorance, we're creating a cause for a higher rebirth within samsara, but not for rebirth, not for leaving samsara altogether. So in Friendly Letter, Nagarjuna says, always practice superior moral discipline, superior concentration, and superior wisdom. These three perfectly include all the 253 trainings. So fully ordained monks take 253 vows, and all of them are contained within the practice of higher moral discipline, because they are taken with the motivation of renunciation. Yeah, so all those vows are taken within the motivation of renunciation, so it makes all these vows a practice of higher moral discipline. And then the same applies to the Bodhisattva and the Tantric vows. So if we take the Pratamoksha vows before developing renunciation, our vows are not actual, but provisional Pratamoksha vows. So just a little brief explanation. The Pratamoksha vows, Pratamoksha means vows of personal liberation, and they are the vows of lay people. Lay people can receive these vows from a resident teacher. And these vows, as well as the Bodhisattva vows and the Tantric vows, are all listed in this wonderful Kadampa booklet called The Vows and Commitments of Kadampa Buddhism. And in it, it lists the lay Pratamoksha vows. There are 5: to abandon killing, to abandon stealing, to abandon sexual misconduct, to abandon lying, to abandon taking intoxicants. So ordained in our tradition also take ordination vows. And they are 10 main vows that we take and adhere to. And we maintain those vows through the practice of our renunciation and the 3 higher trainings. In the West, Geshe-la has given us vows that work perfectly with the modern world. Ordained people in our tradition couldn't keep those 253 vows that a monk or a nun would have taken in India or Tibet. Many of them have to do with physical actions, such as not touching money, for example. So we wouldn't be able to integrate and be part of our regular society, for example, if we weren't allowed to do that. So just a little brief explanation of the difference there. So, okay. If we subsequently listen to, contemplate, and meditate on the stages of the path, we will develop the realization of renunciation. Okay, so before we develop renunciation, our Pratamoksha vows, as in this example, are provisional, they're temporary, they're not the actual vows. But when we do develop renunciation, then it changes. When this happens, our provisional Pratamoksha vows are transformed into real Pratamoksha vows. Geshe Patawa used to say, Dromtompa is my ordaining abbot. Since Dromtompa was a layman, and Geshe Potoa was ordained, he could not actually be an ordaining abbot. So you would have to be adhering to those ordained vows yourself in order to give those vows to another person. So he says Geshe Potoa was implying that it was due to Dromtonpa's guidance that he developed the realization of renunciation and thus transformed his provisional monk's vows into real ones. Through this, so what can we understand? Through this, we can understand clearly how important it is for those who have received the Pratamoksha vows, Bodhisattva and Tantric vows, to practice Lam Rim. Because it is through our Lam Rim practice that our provisional vows become actual vows with the power, to lead us out of samsara. All our Lam Rim meditations are not for just temporary happiness. They're leading us. It's a pathway, isn't it? It's leading us out of samsara and then wanting this for everybody else. So if we neglect the practice of Lam Rim, it is impossible these days for us to keep our vows purely without breaking them. Yeah, all our Lam Rim meditations are helping us to control our delusions. And it's our delusions that make us break our vows, isn't it? Especially our delusion of attachment that make us break or perhaps damage a vow or break a promise that we just made to ourselves. So without a practice of Lam Rim, a practice that's controlling our delusions on a daily basis, we will necessarily be in a position of vulnerability to breaking or damaging our vows. Okay, I was hoping to get further, but I think we'll have to stop here. Thank you. Okay, who wants to offer the meditation?
Louise and I were quite moved by what you were talking about when you said that suffering is a symptom or a link of being caught in samsara. And I believe you said we need to put energy into planning our escape. And so we were thinking about using that as a motivation to apply effort right now while we have this opportunity, while we have this bodily basis of having a human life, and using the object of our meditation being the determination to apply effort right now.
Okay, and sorry, was the analysis based on understanding that we don't know for how long we have the opportunity?
Yeah, well, the analysis, I think, covering a couple of things. I think that's the closest step to the actual object of meditation, but leading up to that, if you were able to repeat what you had said earlier about suffering, I think the suffering piece was something that Louise had specifically raised as really moving her mind. So, if we could bring that in terms of contemplating how suffering is actually a symptom of being caught in samsara.
Right. Okay, that sounds nice. Sounds really good. Any other thoughts? Okay, what are we going to do over the week to integrate what we've just learned?
How about while we're practicing moral discipline, we try and do it with the motivation of renunciation? Yeah,
that sounds perfect. Okay, anything else?
Hi, Choyang.
Oh,
Go ahead, Emily.
sorry, this is the first time that I'm doing this. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
It's Emily. Well, the part from that would be included in the meditation about any time we're experiencing any suffering, whether it's a delusion in our mind, some little pain, to immediately bring to mind, this is a symptom of samsara. I need to get out.
Yes, we'll definitely. So that's definitely going to be part of our meditation, and but clearly that's what we can be doing during the week as well, making that connection. So it's personal.
Thank
Does
you.
someone else have a thought? I heard somebody else.
Yeah, it's Tulika. Shannon and I were talking about a couple of things, and the one that really moved me was just sort of reframing what effort is as I'm engaging in virtuous activities and the motivation for moral discipline to remember, or even the motivation to generate renunciation and to attain wisdom, realizing emptiness, is to remember that the effort that I'm putting in is joyful and is light and is not striving and stressful and not pushing. That was very helpful.
Is that, Talika, part of your putting that into your everyday practice?
Yes, exactly.
Wonderful. Yeah, Geshe-la describes 4 powers in conjunction with her effort, and one of them is the power of joy. And he says this effort is when this power of joy supports our effort, supports our ability to delight in virtue, because this joyous mind is an approach. We're approaching all our virtuous activities with a joyful and a calm mind, which is not always the way we approach our virtuous activities. Sometimes it's with dread, sometimes it's with stress, sometimes it's boredom, sometimes it's with expectation. So I found that very interesting, thinking about that our approach to the virtue must be joyful and light, calm. And this is where we've heard that line many times, like a child at play, yeah, is in relation to the power of joy, which is going to support our ability to delight in engaging in virtuous activities. So you can just try noticing your mind perhaps during the week when you are about to engage in something formal or even informal, and check what kind of mind you're bringing to that virtuous activity, and see whether you can try to identify what that mind is. And then if it's not quite calm, joyful, or peaceful, you can think, all I need to do right now is be like a child at play. Yeah, and bring that mind. We have to manifest that mind, bring it into the virtuous activity, and prove to yourself how naturally our effort will come through approaching virtue with that state of mind. Okay. If there is nothing else, and we will close with the dedication prayers. Thank you.
practicing the stages of the path. May all living beings find the opportunity to practice in the same way. However many living beings there are, experiencing mental and physical suffering, may their suffering cease through the power of my mind, and may they find everlasting happiness and joy. May everyone experience the happiness of humans and gods, and quickly attain enlightenment, so that samsara is finally extinguished. For the benefit of all living beings as extensive as space, may I attain great wisdom like that of Manjushri, great compassion like that of Avalokiteshvara, great power like that of Vajrapani. The Buddha Dhamma is the supreme medicine that relieves all mental pain. So may this precious Dhamma jewel pervade all worlds throughout space. May there arise in the minds of all living beings great faith in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and thus may they always receive the blessings of the three precious gems. May there never arise in this world the miseries of incurable disease, famine, or war, or the dangers of earthquakes, fires, flood, storms, and so forth. May all mother beings be precious teachers, who reveal the stages of the path to enlightenment, and through engaging in this path, may they quickly attain the ultimate peace of full enlightenment. Through the blessings of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the truth of actions and their effects, and the power of my pure superior intention, may all my prayers be fulfilled. Through the tribulations of myself and others, gathered throughout the three times, may the virtue of Conqueror and Brahman flourish forever. The supreme stainless wisdom, unbridled body, the destroyer of the cause of O venerable Guru, synthesis of all stations, with my body, speech, and mind, please for free and great request. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate my soul and restore the common the stars of the night, the snows. You are Purushakyamuni and Vajradhara, the stars that overtake. Avalokiteshvara, the treasure unobservable compassion. Unto thee, the supreme stainless wisdom. Vajradhara, the destroyer of the Musaras. O venerable Guru, synthesis of all these rules, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully and daily praise. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate myself from the source of all attainment. Avalokiteshvara, the treasure unobservable compassion. Unto thee, the supreme stainless wisdom. Vajradhara, the destroyer of the Musaras. Venerable Guru, synthesis of all fish rules, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully and daily praise. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate myself from
Have a great week, everybody.